Good morning, Illini. I hope you are doing well. As always, I'm Matt Schrock, and I'm thrilled to be chatting with you today. We're headed into the holiday season, and that often means songs and pageantry and festivities and decorations. For many people, it also means gatherings and gifts. So both of those things can impact our finances. And so here at Healthy Illini, we want to have discussions that touch on as many areas of health and wellness as we possibly can. And some of those might not immediately come to mind when you talk about health and wellness or talk about or us saying that we are here to keep you well to excel. One of those areas is financial wellness, and so let's get into it. To start the conversation on spending around the holidays and financial wellness, I'm joined today by two guests who are part of the Financial Wellness of College Students program here at UIUC. First, I have Kathy Sweedler. Kathy is an educator with Illinois Extension, and she holds a master's in consumer and family economics. Kathy, thank you for being here.
I'm really pleased to be here with you.
We're also joined by Jessie Van Dyke. She's an intern with Illinois Extension, and she is getting her bachelor's in agriculture and consumer economics. Jessie, I appreciate being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, so financial wellness is a good habit to focus on and to develop early in our journey because it'll pay dividends our whole lives. So it's a good conversation to have with college students, especially. But if you're not a college student or you're a graduate student or later on in life, it's never too late to start either. Financial wellness is big. So in prepping with you both, the biggest key I saw was it's important to be intentional in your finances. So what does that mean? Especially around the holidays, how do I be intentional with my finances?
The key to being intentional with your finances is making a plan for your holiday spending. So we suggest making a list and estimating your costs. Know what gifts you want to buy for people before you hit the stores for holiday shopping. And also keep in mind the hidden costs of buying gifts for people. So in addition to the money that you're going to spend on gifts, you're also going to spend money on wrapping paper and tape and all the little things to spruce up your gifts. And those are costs that sometimes people don't take into consideration.
I think that's one of those things, Jessie, that, I learned the hard way. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I just love buying gifts. I love shopping for gifts. This is something that gives me a lot of pleasure. And so I would set myself that limit, this much for each relative, right? But then I would think, wouldn't it be cute if we added a little something on top of each package, something I could just tie on. And then I would do that. And then I'd think, but then everybody could get one more little something. And it wasn't until I really forced myself, and I actually used an app because, when I'm out shopping, I had my phone with me to really write down each of those little things, even if it was a $3 item, because $3 times 7, okay, I'm starting to add up, right? So right. I really had to be very intentional, as you said, about it. And, I had thought just setting that budget amount would keep me in line, but the act of writing it down or entering it into the app, that really made it real for me. So that was one strategy I've kind of learned over time that is really what you were saying, I think.
Well, and you're right. Like you said about your nieces and things, because I've got kids and I usually have a plan going into it, but then I find that one thing when I'm walking my son would really like this, and I get it. Well, then now I have to find something for the others to try and, balance out kind of thing. And now my budget starts to grow and my budget starts to grow. So really that intentional makes a big deal when you list it out. When you're making this intentional plan and you're trying to budget things out, how do you balance that with your regular budget? Because during the holidays, your regular bills don't go away. You're not just, I'm going to buy gifts. I'm not going to pay for trash, or I'm not going to pay for food, or, how do you take that almost once a year kind of idea where your budget adjusts for that? Is that something that you're cutting back on something else, or throughout the year you're building towards? Are there any tips on that area?
We actually have some great resources on the Financial Wellness website. So basically we suggest to be thinking about these expenses year round. And once you figure out what your budget is going to be for the holidays, you can start putting away money for that a few months early.
Yeah, that's great. And then, like you said, some of these things come around, maybe other costs, like books or something might come around not every week, but still is a lump sum that you're going to have to plan for. So you can think through, I've got the holiday expenses, but what other seasonal or occasional expenses do I have? And some people even open up a separate savings account for that. And so, they might look at the total amount over the year, divide it by 12, and then every month put away some money. So when that occasional seasonal expense arises, there it is in your savings account. And it's not a panic moment. You don't have to put it on credit cards and pay interest. It's there. It's nice. Takes down that stress.
Aside from being intentional in budgeting, are there other advantages to starting early? Not just from a budgetary standpoint, but from just options or having a peace about your financial situation.
Definitely the first biggest benefit of starting early is that you're avoiding the pressures of last minute shopping. So definitely it starts happening if you don't have your budget and you haven't started early. You might miss out on buying a gift for somebody that you wanted, and then you're like, okay, now I have to make up for it. And then you buy them a bunch of things to make up for it.
Another thing that we have noticed over time too is the shipping costs and things. You can be in a place where if it's kind of last minute, then you might have to pay more to either get it shipped to you or ship it to them. And those expenses can really add up. And just to kind of I totally agree with Jessie. I know I've been in that situation so often where I couldn't find something for somebody that, or I had put it off. And then I'm like, okay, I don't care what it costs. I'm just going to buy it because I need it. There's a date. And yeah, that might happen. And we got to give ourselves grace. That happens sometimes, but you don't want your whole shopping list to be like that.
It also opens itself up for impulse buying, which gets me in trouble. When I'm a sucker for, I'm standing in line waiting to check out, and there's something there. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And I grab it. If I don't have that plan, it really gets me into some trouble with that. I would think it also alleviates the stress of last minute shopping. If you don't have a plan, you don't know. If you're indecisive, which I can be when I'm shopping, it can be really hard. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
It does. I think stress while shopping kind of has different effects on different people and different money personalities. So I think some people actually get energized by that last minute shopping, and that's part of the excitement and the joy of it. And some people might get stressed because they feel like they're falling behind and time's running out. So we have to be cognizant. It's going to be different for different people, but still some of those expenses may become very real, like the shipping costs or impulse buying, things like that. So we have to kind of know ourselves, I think, with money, and especially when we're giving gifts is a real trigger for a lot of people, pro and con. So knowing yourself and thinking about how am I going to react in this situation, and am I happy with the way it went last year, or is there something I want to try a little different this year to see if it feels better for me?
I really appreciate you saying it in that way. Because one of the things, if you've listened to this podcast over the episodes, one thing we really stress is that everybody's on their own individual journey. And we all have commonalities, but our uniqueness is there. And how you respond to situations can be totally different from somebody else. So if you're listening to this and you're like, well, that's me, that's great. If you're listening to say that's not really me, that's also okay.
Right.
It's just, we're just giving tips. We're just starting the conversation, as we always say. Just starting to open the door to think about this topic and this idea and find the path that gives each listener the best opportunity to stay well and stay healthy when it comes to their finances. Now, you mentioned the shipping costs. It seems like everything we talk about is colored by the pandemic and by COVID. It just is. And you're like, well, financial wellness really is colored by this? Yes. We know there's a conversation right now about shipping and holiday season coming, and that's a real concern for some people. How do you prepare for the unknown in this situation?
Yeah, that unknown, that makes us all really uncomfortable, I think. At least it makes me uncomfortable, let's put it that way. And definitely the supply chain disruption is real. Yep. Now, it may impact you, it may not, depending on, it seems a little random right now from my point of view. But I think there's some strategies we can think about. We can say to ourselves, okay, there is going to maybe be some difficulties. A good reason to think about Jessie's, tip about planning ahead and starting early, because that might take some of that stress off. But another thing I think is we can kind of rethink our gift list a little bit, or how we might approach it. And there may be some opportunities, for example, to give gifts of experiences. And what the research really shows is that people find more long-term satisfaction receiving an experience as a gift, whether it's shared time to do something or, a gift certificate to go out to an event or a meal or some, try something new, than they do from physical items that are given. And I think that's kind of interesting. And I've been thinking about that myself this year with my gift list, especially as maybe you're trying to think of something for somebody who already has everything. Then, is there an experience that might be nice for them? Going out to eat locally, that hits my checkbox for local as well. So, these are things I think we can do rather than getting all wrapped up in, well, it's not going to come. What's going to happen is look locally, look at what is available, and think about experiences.
That's timely right now, because especially coming out of the pandemic, there's so much that so many of us felt in lost experiences.
Right.
That it was a struggle because we couldn't do the things with the people we wanted to do the things with, and where we wanted to do them, and the way we wanted to do them. And so coming out of this, giving an experience might even have more of an impact, because it's
That's
something that we lost for whether it's with your kids, with your friends, with your family, whatever it may be. There's so many experiences that we look back and say, if only. And so giving a new experience, giving an experience that was missed in some way is huge. So that's a great idea. That's a fantastic thought. I really appreciate that. Now, I'm old enough, we're talking about shipping and supply chain. I'm old enough to remember when online shopping kind of started. And I remember there were a lot of people who were like, this will never last. I'm not going to buy off the internet. I want to go to a store. I want to hold it in my hand. This is crazy. Who's going to get my credit card out over the internet? All these things that we were told never to do. And online shopping is here to stay. I mean, Cyber Monday is a serious thing. But are there some tips or some ideas that can help us be financially well when we're shopping online as opposed to shopping in person? Are there some things to be aware of when we go into that space?
Well, the big thing to be aware of when you're shopping online is your financial safety. So with that, you want to make sure that you're checking the reviews of the products that you're buying, as well as only buying from credible websites or credible sources, because you don't want to end up getting scammed and getting a fake item or something like that. And also just taking the time to do your research on the websites that you're going to.
And one of the things I've kind of learned the hard way, because we all make mistakes when it comes to managing our finances, and we'd love to have that knowledge and not do it, but sometimes experiences is the way we learned, is when you're shopping online, keep those receipts, those emails that say what you ordered, what should be coming, maybe set up a file folder so you've got them all in one place. That way, if something doesn't show up, you can go back and figure it out. Like I said, I learned that one the hard way. The other thing is to consider whether you want to use your credit card or your debit card when you're making purchases. Now, again, this comes back a little bit to knowing yourself. If you feel that it's, there's some people who don't like to use their credit card because they feel like they may overspend. And so that's something to definitely keep in mind. But the truth of the matter is you do have more federal law protections when you use your credit card online than when you use your debit card. So for example, Jesse and I talked about this quite a bit the other day. If you order something and what comes is not what you ordered, it was deceptive, or even if you just, have a problem with that vendor, you can stop your payment on your credit card. And then you have leverage when you're negotiating about, hey, I'm sending this back. This isn't what I wanted or what you said I was going to get. If you use your debit card, well, the money's gone, right? They already got it. It's instantaneous, and you've lost a lot of leverage. The other thing too is and this is not very likely, but just let's say it happened that, because you were buying things online, somebody was able to grab your credit card number or your debit card number. With your credit card, you have a liability of up to $50. Then if somebody uses it beyond that, honestly, it's the credit card company's problem. With a debit card, your liability can be much larger. Mm-hmm. If you don't notice it right away that somebody else is using your debit card, then It could be up and you don't report it within 60 days. Then it could be that all the money goes from your debit card and then in your account. And then it's up to whether your financial institution is going to back you or not. And there's not a law to protect you. So typically, if you feel comfortable with your ability to use your credit card and have a plan for paying it off, I definitely recommend using your credit card over your.
But it ties back to that idea of being intentional in that, we talked about being intentional on the front end where you're making a budget, you're making a plan. But you also want to be intentional on the back end in that I'm going to track my purchases. I'm going to track my receipts. I'm going to track, when I paid for something, when it came out of my account, if it was a debit card, because sometimes they don't post right away. So you think, oh, I've got more money in my account than I thought. Well, no, you just had the money you had already spent hadn't come out, kind of thing. And so being intentional and tracking those things on the back end is just as important as making that budget in the front.
And I would really suggest that people, before they sit down and they're shopping online at night or when you're tired, and we sometimes don't make our best decisions when we're tired, is really do a check-in with yourself. In a way, it's kind of like a mindfulness opportunity to check in with yourself and say, am I buying things now because it works with my plan? Am I buying things now because I'm stressed out? And this is, I think, going to make me feel better, but honestly, will it in a few days? Am I buying it now because I'm feeling some other emotional thing that's happening and maybe there would be a better way? Maybe I should go talk to a friend. Maybe I should go take a walk. Maybe I should do something physical and walk away from the computer or my phone and do the shopping a little later. So just again, checking in with yourself. Where are you emotionally while you're shopping? And then kind of thinking that through.
Yeah, going off of that, like online shopping can be so addicting when you start like just scrolling and scrolling. So like a strategy that I use is like when I see something I want, I'm like, okay, let me take 2 days. It'll still probably be there. And then if I still want it and I still feel like I need it, then I'll buy it.
Great tip.
Yeah, you're right about the addictiveness, because if I go to a physical store and they don't have what I'm looking for, my options are limited to what's in the store. Online, I can scroll forever until I find what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then I find something else that I didn't know I wanted. And find something else that, this would go great with this. So yeah, you're right. It can be, you can find yourself going down that rabbit hole pretty quick. Here at Healthy Illini, we are all about supporting students and offering resources. So let's say there's somebody listening to this and they want to make a financial plan, or they want to have an idea of where to start with holiday, or they just want some tips, or just want some support. What are some of the resources that they can find on the campus, especially the extension office? What are some of the things they can that you can offer, and how do they connect with you?
So on our financial wellness website, we have a bunch of different links that go to different resources that we have. So the one that we promote the most, I feel like, is our budgeting Excel sheet. That's like for year round, like that's always great to use. And then also I talked about our seasonal and occasional expenses. And then with that, we also, for students and the community, you can make a meeting with a money mentor. We have office hours throughout the week, and you just come in and talk about any financial troubles you're having or any advice you're looking for, and we can help you out.
Yes, and when we say come in, right now we're doing a lot of those by Zoom, so you don't have to be physically close by or track all the way across campus. We can schedule that so that you can have a Zoom meeting. And I think it's a really unique opportunity to be able to sit down and say, this is what I'm thinking about, and have somebody kind of jump in and help you think about alternatives, brainstorm what's going on, give you concrete financial education about things like budgets and tracking expenses. So really encourage people to take advantage of this and think about what are their goals for the new year, and what kind of help do they need, and what can we help you with it.
And we'll have links to all these resources in our episode description, so you can check that out. But you're right about talking to somebody, because we can put tools online which are good, and they can do it. But sometimes, because everyone is different, everyone's journey is different, sometimes it helps to have that one-on-one. Where are you at? Where are you trying to get to? Let me help walk this path with you, with somebody who has experience. So I echo that. I encourage anybody listening who's hearing this and wanting to continue the conversation, or wanting to just get some advice, reach out, because there are people that have experience that are here to help. And we want to help you also at Healthy Illini. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being here. Kathy and Jesse, I really appreciate all the expertise you brought. I appreciate the way you brought it, and hopefully this will help some people feel more comfortable in reaching out and help some people feel comfortable with managing their personal finances. But thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
The holiday season can be stressful for a lot of reasons, and it can also put a strain on our finances, which brings its own stress. But that stress can be lessened greatly if we're intentional with our finances and have a plan. You can find a lot of the resources, like I said, in our episode description. You can find places to contact people. And as always, we're here to support you at Healthy Illini. Whether it's a question, a comment, or just wanting to continue the conversation wherever you're at, we want to hear from you. But thank you for joining us today. You are on a personal journey, no matter where you are in it. You are important. You matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter. And we are here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing. And we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.